Meet Sigurd Andenas. His ties to Minor County go back more than 60 years, but the Andenas family's link here extends back more than a century. It began before South Dakota was even officially a state. In the 1880s and 90s, Sigurd's father Mads served Lutheran churches on the Dakota Prairie. He traveled a 116-mile circuit on horseback, his long beard flying in the wind. Eventually, Mads moved back to Norway and, with his wife, raised a family of 8 boys. Sigurd, the 7th son, grew up hearing stories of his father's adventures as a pioneer preacher.
We had him tell this over and over again, and I felt like, boy, I'd sure like to go to South Dakota and try to farm.
Try it, he did. Like the crops he's raised through the years, Sigurd has flourished on the South Dakota prairie. But before starting life as a farmer, Sigurd had some other true adventures himself. Early in the year 1940, 22-year-old Sigurd Andenas joined the Norwegian Navy. Just a few months later, Nazi forces began their sweep across Europe, and on April 9th, they invaded Norway and Denmark.
Instead of being in the free land, all of a sudden, we were prisoners of war. A bunch of recruits. We were held for a couple of days, and then they let us loose.
Andenas and fellow soldiers traveled to Sweden and then had to wait a year before they could obtain travel permits to join British forces in England. To avoid capture by the Nazis, the Norwegians reached England by going through Russia, the Middle East, and around the African continent by boat.
Very interesting trip. And yes, it was such an eye-opener to come to Russia. And that was after Stalin had killed millions and millions of his own people, and everything was in decay in a way.
In England, Andenas joined forces aboard Norwegian torpedo boats, now part of the British Home Fleet. Andenas was a gunner.
So we were operating on the Norwegian coast, cutting down on German shipping.
By cover of night, the torpedo boats moved stealthily along the coast of their home country.
We came sneaking in there and always tried to keep in the shade, you know, for if it was moonlight, we had to be very close to land where there was shade. But we moved silent, so we could be close by a populated area. We could hear dogs were barking. We could see people walk out to do the chores, to the barn to do the chores, and that had a lantern.
They were fighting for their homeland, but ironically, if caught by the Nazis, the Norwegian troops likely would have been executed for treason. They managed to evade capture, and by May 1945, Hitler was dead, and the war in Europe finally over. Few moments can match the jubilation of May 17th, the day they returned home.
Instead of coming sneaking in during the wartime, here we came in beautiful weather, and we received so wonderfully. It was quite something.
Soon after the war ended, Sigurd got an invitation from his brother Axel and sister-in-law Anna to join them for a vacation on an island in Oslo Fjord. Little did Sigurd know, another guest was invited also, Anna's younger sister, Rigmor Ergens.
She didn't know I was coming. I didn't know she was coming. But then we were on that island a couple of weeks or so, and it set me thinking. Yeah.
Also on Sigurd's mind was following his childhood dream of becoming an American farmer. So he set out for South Dakota, and a year later, Rigmor joined him. The two were married in Bellevue Church, where they were the last couple to have the ceremony performed in Norwegian. Rigmor and Sigurd made a success farming here in Minor County, and along with chickens, hogs, and milk cows, they raised a family. According to Sigurd, his timing was everything.
I came in the right time. If I'd come now, I wouldn't have been able to do it. You know, you have to know what you're doing nowadays. In those days, you plowed, anybody can plow, and you can put in a crop, and there was no spraying of weeds or anything. But nowadays, it takes, you got to know what you're doing when you operate a farm now, because the expenses are very high, and things got to be done right, or you don't operate in black. Huh? Yeah, and I enjoy watching my two boys farm, and they do a heck of a lot better job than I did, but I made it.